One of the big focuses of this week's budget was Australia's housing crisis. To help us break down the policies and discuss the latest housing and rent situation, I'm joined by Domain's Chief of Research, Dr. Nicola Powell. Nicola, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. As we've heard, there was a big focus on housing in the budget this week, including increasing supply and an increase to rent assistance for low-income renters. What do you make of the budget announcements, and do you think they'll go far enough to helping take the pressure off the market?
Domain really welcomes the investment and the focus on housing from this year's budget. It is great to see that rental assistance has increased by 10%, and that's on top of the 15% increase that was announced in September of last year. It is grossly needed. Our lower income households in the rental market are extremely struggling at the moment. When you look at the change in asking rents over the last 4 years across our combined capital cities, they're up by roughly 40%. So that increase in rental assistance is very much needed. There's other announcements as well. So $1 billion for enabling infrastructure to support new housing, about $90 million to alleviate skills shortages. I think there is more that needs to be done. I think it is a positive step forward, but we do need to do things like reducing red tape. We need to make sure that there is land being released in the right areas at affordable prices to make it feasible, the project's feasible for developers. And I really think it is a call to government of all levels, local government, states to federal, to collaboratively work together to actually get the job done. And ultimately, that job is about providing supply.
And you mentioned the rental market, those prices just going up. How is the rental market faring at the moment? What is the national vacancy rate currently sitting at?
It is still a very challenged rental market. Nationally, the vacancy rate is sitting at about 0.7%. So that does mean it's still very much a landlord's market, but we are expecting conditions to start to improve. I think it is still very, very challenged, and we can't shy away from the fact that there are many people out there really finding it hard to find a vacant rental. But we have got some data points that showcase that things are changing. It's just going to take some time. The number of potential renters per listing has been reducing, and it's been reducing quite significantly for some time. Also, we've got things like overseas migration, or net overseas migration is now coming off of a peak. And when you look at the growth in rents, they're growing, they're not growing as fast as what they once were.
And in terms of some of the worst areas, where would you say, I mean, it's quite a widespread issue right across the country, but what would you say are the worst areas for renters looking for a property right now?
It's really interesting because it is still very diverse. Regional markets are in a much better position in the rental space than our capital cities, but it's even diverse across our different cities. So better conditions in Canberra, that has the highest vacancy rate. I think that's sitting at over 1%, it's at 1.4%. The most competitive capital cities are Perth and Adelaide, extraordinarily tight rental markets. Only 0.3% at a citywide level is the current vacancy rate. And remember, a balanced rental market is when the vacancy rate is sitting between 2 and 3%, so extremely challenged in those two cities.